Welcome back to our fifth section on the Yoga Sutras. We're focusing on Pada 1. And in this section, we're going to be looking at the sutras that deal with Ishvara. And we have Danelle Mason again with us to lead us in the chanting. Good to see you, Danelle.
Good to be here. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. And let's begin with a very brief meditation. So taking a moment to close your eyes and sit up straight. And begin to feel the body, directing your awareness from the thoughts in the mind down into the movement of the breath within the lungs and the belly. And feeling the awareness flowing into the shoulders and into the pelvis, into the arms and the legs. And feeling the movement of the body as you breathe, feeling the prana, or imagining what it would be like to sense the flow of prana moving into the body on the inhale and flowing out of the body on the exhale, merging with the field of prana all around. And in these sutras on Ishvara, there's an emphasis towards Om. Om as being the expression of Ishvara, the representation of divinity. And within our tradition, Lahiri Mahashaya had said that even the body is an expression of Om. And so relax into the body, feeling Om as it vibrates. Within the felt sensations of the body. And as we chant the sutras and contemplate their meaning, remain established in the body as though you are listening with the body, listening with the whole field of your being. And we'll honor the teachers who've made it possible for us to be here to study today. The Kriya Yoga representatives, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, Roy Eugene Davis, and their successors. And we'll honor and acknowledge our primary inspiration in the study of the sutras, Roy Eugene Davis, Swami Veda Bharati, and Vyas Houston. Om, peace. Okay. So we'll go ahead and begin with Sutra 1.23. Danelle?
Sure. Okay. Sutra 123. So repeat after me. I'll say the word and then you repeat it back after me. I can't hear you, so I'll say it twice. Yeah. Īśvara, Īśvara, praṇidhāna, praṇidhāna. Īśvara, Īśvara, praṇidhāna, praṇidhāna. Īśvara, praṇidhāna, Īśvara, praṇidhāna, Īśvara, praṇidhānādva, Īśvara, praṇidhānādva.
As always, I will share my screen so that you can see the discussion. Okay. Sutra 1.23. It's only a few words in this sutra, but it's a very profound sutra. Ishvara is often described as the Lord or the Supreme Being, as a special purusha which is untouched by the afflictions, by karma, and by the results of karma. Praṇidhāna, devotion, surrender, dedication, to place oneself before wholehearted offering of one's actions, will, and results. And then va means alternatively. So this is an indication that there is another valid route to samadhi alongside the intensity-based approach. In my experience, they both go together. And so the literal rendering is, or samadhi is attained by devotion to Ishvara. Ishvara is an interesting term. It's often translated as God. And we have to remember that this is a very old word. And the way we usually think of God in modern times wasn't really coined until around the 6th century. So this is a very different kind of way of understanding divinity. When I sense or imagine this aspect of divinity, to me, I contemplate that innate intelligence, that innate vastness that makes it possible for billions of people to have bodies that work for the most part, to have billions of creatures on a planet, to have a solar system hurtling through the galaxy with all of the stars all around it. That inconceivable, incomprehensible power, intelligence, wisdom, being. To me, that is Īśvara. And in our practice, as we begin to contemplate that and feel into that, then we develop a kind of devotion, surrender, and dedication, because it's all inspiring. If you really just sit down, you don't even have to meditate, but just take the time to reflect upon how amazing life is. Just the very fact that a tree can grow, and from that seeds can come forth and produce more trees. And that's been going on for longer than humans have been around. Contemplating this leads you into an expanded state that brings you very near this sense of Īśvara. So when I contemplate this sutra, it's more about moving into a place of awe and wonder. And in that awe and wonder, you can't help but to have a sense of devotion and surrender. Not surrender as in you are a slave being obedient to one's master, but a surrender to this power which is amazing, incomprehensible, and knowing that you are within the flow of that your life is illuminated by that. So this is just the beginning of the sutras on Īśvara. But think about Īśvara in this more cosmic way, and that'll help to make samadhi quite a bit more accessible to you, because you have to expand your mind, you have to expand your consciousness to begin to even touch the smallest aspect of this being. And once you touch that small aspect, that one facet, it can lead you into the fullness of it. All right, next sutra.
Okay. Sutra 124. Klesha karma, vipakar shayer, klesha karma, vipakar shayer, aparamrishta, purusha vishesha, Īśvara, purusha vishesha Īśvara aparamrishta aparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara purusha vishesha Īśvara klesha karma vipakashayir klesha karma vipakashayir aparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara aparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara klesha karma vipakarshayir aparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara klesha karma vipakarshayir aparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara.
Sutra 124. The literal rendering is Ishvara is a special purusha, untouched by afflictions, actions, their results, and the storehouse of impressions. So this is a indication of how you can relate to purusha, or excuse me, how you can relate to Ishvara as a special aspect of being which is not afflicted, which is free of actions, their results, and free of the storehouse of impressions. Klesha, affliction. These are the 5 causes of suffering: ignorance, egoism, attachment, aversion, and fear of death. Karma, action, actions of the body, speech, and mind. Vipaka, result, fruition. This is the ripening of actions. Ashayi, latent impressions, subliminal deposits, deep-seated tendencies stored in the mind field. And then aparamrishta, untouched, unstained, absolutely unaffected. Purusha vishesha, the special purusha, and then Ishvara, Lord. As you contemplate Ishvara, and you contemplate in the way I've mentioned about this expansiveness, this creativity, this intelligence, this power, which is immense, beyond our comprehension, awe-inspiring. When you turn your attention to that, you can also honor and acknowledge the fact that this being is not caught up in karma, is not bound by afflictions. And when you direct your chitta to that, just like when you direct your chitta to anything, but when you direct your chitta to that, you begin to resonate with that field. You begin to experience what that field experiences. And this is why surrender, devotion to, or even attuning to the field of Ishvara naturally lifts you above all of the things that keep you stuck in all the changing vrittis, all the changing fluctuations within your consciousness. We're not going to get into this too much, but it's something worth mentioning. There's often an argument that Sankhya philosophy and even the Yoga Sutras, are they atheistic or are they theistic? Well, when you throw in Ishvara and you use the idea of God as we think about it in our modern culture, it can make you wonder, it must be theistic. But Ishvara is this field of being, this radiant field. And it's just a natural expression of the interaction between Purusha and Prakriti. And so by contemplating that, we recognize that it is an expression of our own field of consciousness. And then it doesn't really matter whether it's theistic or atheistic, because it's still a radiant field of light. It's still free of karma, free of afflictions, free of the storehouse of impressions. And cultivating that creates such sattva that it lifts you into the direct experience of what you truly are. So contemplating Ishvara naturally inspires you towards Ishvara. naturally awakens your own field of consciousness to grow into what Ishvara represents. And then, of course, samadhi becomes more accessible, more readily approachable within your consistent practice. And next sutra.
Sutra 125. Tatra, tatra, niratishayam, niratishayam. Tatra, niratishayam, tatra, niratishayam. Sarvagyatva bijam, sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra niratishayam, tatra niratishayam. Sarvagyatva bijam, sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra niratishayam, sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra niratishayam, sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra niratishayam, sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra niratishayam, sarvagyatva bijam.
In him, in Īśvara, is the unsurpassed seed of omniscience. This is a really profound statement. In him, in Īśvara, is the unsurpassed seed of omniscience. Tatra, in him, in that. Nirtishayam, without limit, unsurpassed, so beyond comparison or degree. Sarva gyatva, all-knowing, possessing complete knowledge of all things. Bijam, seed, source, the root or causal power of omniscience. Let's try to speak to this in a way that is practically applicable at this point in your study and in this pass through of the Yoga Sutras. This is further describing Īśvara, and it's describing that there is an omniscience, there is an all-knowingness within this field of being, this radiant field of chitta. And one of the things I've recommended for students to do when they meditate is to take some time and imagine, what would it be like if all of your questions were answered? So usually we come to the spiritual path because we're working something out. Sometimes it's by a sattvic inspiration to just be present with divinity. But most people are trying to work something out, and there are questions. So if you can imagine that you are attuned to a radiant field, that within that field, there is all-knowing, and so all of your questions are answered. And you need to feel that deep within the heart. What would it be like if you were at such peace because all of your questions had already been answered? This is one way to move into more fully into that space of Īśvara. It's another step on the process. There is a clue within this sutra, bijam, seed, source for omniscience. Well, if we refer back to Sankhya philosophy and we think about the progression of the evolutes of Prakriti, we have purusha, then we have the unmanifest Prakriti, which eventually expresses into the gunas. Well, at that junction, if you can call it that, again, we're using words for things that really can't be talked about. At that junction where this light of consciousness of purusha awakens Prakriti, at that part of the field, this is beyond affliction, this is beyond karma, and it is the seed for everything that is to come, for every expression of thought, emotion, physical experience, time, all of that. And this is giving you a hint of within this hierarchy or or evolution of Prakriti and experience, where is Īśvara? And it's as close to purusha, the seer, the witness, the soul, the characteristicless essence of being. It's as close to that as possible, but it's still within experience. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to really talk about it or have an experience of it. So by contemplating, having the sense of all of your questions are fulfilled, contemplating the feeling of awe and inspiration of this radiant field that made it possible for every single thing to exist, for you to experience, even the things you don't even know about, moving into that state of awe and wonder. All of this is saturating your chitta with the experience of Īśvara. And again, the more you do that, the easier it becomes to naturally flow into a state of samadhi, and your own other practices become empowered. So your meditation techniques, your devotions, and so on, these become empowered. As we talked about in previous sutras, having devotion, having faith, having energy towards our practice makes us really benefit from the process. And this is another way to do it, to consider Īśvara. What is Īśvara? Accessing it through directing your chitta towards it, through these contemplations. And then it makes it easier for you to experience samadhi. So we need to really keep this in mind as we go through our practices. Okay, next sutra.
Sutra 126. Sa purvesham api guru sa purvesham api guru kalenanavachedat 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 sa purvesham api guru kalenanavachedat.
The literal rendering: he is the teacher of even the ancient ones, because he is not limited by time. He is the teacher of even the ancient ones, because he is not limited by time. Sa, he, again referring back to Īśvara. Purvesham, of the former ones or the ancient ones, the earliest sages and teachers. Api, even, guru, teacher, spiritual guide. Kalena, by time. So this is referring to the limitation of time. Anavachedat, because of not being limited. This sutra is telling us that the source of yoga comes from Īśvara. In the system of yoga, we have a principle called Hiranyagarbha, which is the great golden womb. And it's said that when we go through an initiation, so when we are initiated by our guru or our tradition into a practice or a technique or a process, that the purpose of that initiation is to attune us to that great golden womb, Hiranyagarbha. And you've heard me use the term multiple times of the radiant field. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So the true guru is this radiant field, this field of sattva, this field of light that holds all wisdom, all knowledge, all clarity. Again, from the Sankhya tradition, we would be looking at that level of buddhi or mahat. So the principle that comes just after purusha when we think about how the evolutes express themselves. So Īśvara is the teacher of even the ancient ones. Even the ancient ones. Paramahansa Yogananda, one time he had said that he was not the guru. He was not the guru, that God was the guru. And he was illustrating this fact that he knew that his body, his mind, his personality was an expression of this great radiant field. All traditional, authentic guru lineages follow this process. Each teacher, each student has created or supported this link back to the great radiant field. And as our spiritual process develops, we ourselves learn to access it directly. So the guru is very important to help us learn how to access it directly. But as we mature as spiritual beings, as our techniques work, as our philosophy becomes more understood and lived, we learn to access this. And as we'll learn as we get down through the next sutras, this is done by an understanding of Ishvara, devotion to Ishvara, by chanting Om, by experiencing Om. That's part of the whole process of yoga, is recognizing the truth of Om and how it relates to our own expression as spiritual beings within this world. So once again, the literal rendering is, he is the teacher of even the ancient ones because he is not limited by time. Next sutra.
Sutra 127. Tasya vachakaha, tasya vachakaha, pranava, pranava, tasya vachakaha, tasya vachakaha, pranava, pranava, tasya vachakaha, pranava, tasya vachakaha, pranava, tasya vachakaha, pranava, tasya vachakaha, pranava.
Is also a very powerful sutra. All of these sutras are powerful, aren't they? I keep saying that. But this one in particular, his expression is the syllable Om. His expression is the syllable Om. And this is a very powerful metaphysical sutra as well. Tasya, of him, referring to Ishvara, this radiant field of God, whatever works for you to identify with and attune to this indication we call Īśvara in the Yoga Sutras. Va chakaha, denoter, that which expresses, so the word or sound that signifies something signifies Īśvara. Pranavaha, the syllable Om, the universal sound symbol representing Īśvara. So as you acknowledge, learn to experience Om, you are attuning to Īśvara. You are resonating with Īśvara. And if you let yourself, you can begin to rise into that radiant field to experience that sattvic radiant field. And this is done through chanting Om, which we'll see. But mainly it's done through experiencing Om. And the purpose of the Yoga Sutras, the purpose of our Kriya Yoga practice, all of the techniques are to lead us to that field, that experience, that listening to the power of Om. Sri Ishvara talks about this in his book, The Holy Science, that we are essentially baptized through Om. And in that baptism, we have our second birth and we recognize the truth of our being, again, as spiritual, unlimited, and as the purusha, the seer, the witness, that cosmic principle, which is eternal in the essence of our being. So let's continue on because there's more to say about this, and that comes up in the next sutras.
Sutra 128. Tajapas, tajapas, tadarta bhavanam, tadarta bhavanam, tajapas, tajapas, tadarta bhavanam, tadarta bhavanam, tajapas, tadarta bhavanam, tajapas, tadarta bhavanam, tajapas, tadarta bhavanam, tajapas, tadarta bhavanam.
The final sutra that we're going to look at today, it's repetition and meditation on its meaning. This is referring to Om, the pranavaha, and it's by repeating Om, listening to Om, feeling Om, that we understand the meaning of Om as a source of connection and an expression of Īśvara, of God, of the radiant field. Again, this is an extremely metaphysical section of this topic. It's well worth going into more detail, but we only have so much time. What I would say is contemplate what's already been shared and see how can you apply that contemplation regularly in your practice. And then this part of these sutras where it talks about the repetition of Om, you can approach this in many different ways. You can chant Om out loud. The vibration of chanting Om has a profound effect on your nervous system and your body. It attunes you to an inwardly directed consciousness, which we'll see next week. And it removes the obstacles to your spiritual practice. Once you learn to chant it out loud, as your nervous system becomes calmer and you become more internalized, and usually that occurs through your asana practice, through your pranayama practice, and just getting better at meditation in general. As you become more settled, you eventually learn to feel more deeply into the body, the subtle field of the body, and you can become aware of a sound frequency that you're not sure where it's coming from. It can start like a high-pitched tone or even a high-pitched squeal frequency, as if it's coming from inside your head, but all around your body as well. And by using that as an entry point, you can sink your attention into that. That's hearing Om. And eventually that sound grows within. It becomes stronger, clearer, richer in its dynamics and its fullness, in its nuance. And as you settle your awareness into that, you are moving more deeply, more closer to the purer field of Ishvara, of sattva. And this is the baptism process that Sri Yukteswar talks about. It can be very slippery. It can be hard to maintain. But through the relaxation, through the pranayama, through the relaxing inward and choosing to listen to it, to feel it, to sense it, then you are moving from an external repetition of Om to an actual felt sense of Om. And when you can learn to make that your mantra, that experience your mantra, and fall into it, flow into it, relax into it, surrender into it more deeply, the truth of Om, the truth of Īśvara reveals itself to you. And so this sutra is essentially saying, by the repetition of Om, by the meditation on its meaning, and I would also add, by the felt experience of it consistently and continuously as you are able, this is what leads to the revelation of your relationship to Īśvara, what Īśvara is, and that radiant field of light that we've been talking about, which makes it possible for you to more quickly and sincerely and authentically access as close to purusha and the seer as possible. So this is a very essential aspect of the Yoga Sutras. It's a very essential way of engaging yoga and fulfilling the promise of yoga. So please spend some time contemplating this, chanting these sutras, wondering about their meaning, and then more importantly, imagining, what if this was real for you? How would you feel it? How would you experience it? And direct your chitta to that until direct experience dawns. Now we're going to have Danelle chant through the sutras. Let me share a different screen here. So the sutras that we've gone through, Danelle, like previously, if you would, maybe chant each sutra twice, and then you can go through and chant all of the sutras together, say 3 times, just to give a vibratory experience of the process for the people who are tuning in for us.
Good, lovely. All right, so take a moment to just lengthen up through your spine and relax your shoulders and open your heart. And just repeat them back after me. Īśvara praṇidhāna. Īśvara praṇidhāna. Īśvara praṇidhāna. Īśvara praṇidhāna. Klesha karma vipakarshayerdaparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara. 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 Tatra nirtishayam sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra nirtishayam sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra nirtishayam sarvagyatva bijam. Tatra nirtishayam sarvagyatva bijam. Sa purvesham api guru kalinannavachedat. 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 Tasya vachakaha pranava. Tasya vachakaha pranava. Tasya vachakaha pranava. Tasya vachakaha pranava. Tadjapas tadarta bhavanam. Tadjapas tadarta bhavanam. Tadjapas tadarta bhavanam. Tadjapas tadarta bhavanam. Īśvara praṇidhāna. Klesha karma vipakarshayeraparamrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara. Tatra nirtishayam sarvagyatva bijam. Sa purvesham api guru kalinannavachedat. Tasya vachakaha pranava. Tadjapas tadarta bhavanam. Īśvara praṇidhāna. Klesha karma vipakarshayera paramrishta purusha vishesha Īśvara tatra niratashayam sarvagyatva bijam sa purvesham api guru kalinanavacheda tasya vachakaha pranava Tajjapas tadarta bhavanam Ishvara praṇidhānadva klesha karma vipakarshayera paramrishta purusha vishesha Ishvara tatra niratashayam sarvagyatva bijam Sa purvesham api guru kalinanavachedat tasya vachakaha pranava tajjapas tadarta bhavanam.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in with us today. Spend some time chanting these sutras over the next week, contemplating their meaning. And we'll conclude today with chanting Om 3 times together. As you feel deeply into the body, sense the vibration, imagine this field of Īśvara radiant within and all around you, through you. Peace. And thank you again, Danelle, for being with us and leading us in those chants.
My pleasure. Thank you.